Hi, Cara here, and today I wanted to talk to you about how our network actually influences our imposter syndrome. I'm going to go through one, two, three, four of the different ways that our network actually impacts our imposter syndrome. And right at the very end, I'm actually going to run through an exercise that hopefully will help you not only work out who is in your network, but also help you with your imposter syndrome as well. So let's get started. If you don't know who I am, my name is Cara Lambert. I help business owners, entrepreneurs, and leaders overcome imposter syndrome that holds them and their business back. And I hold a degree in psychology and a graduate diploma of management. What does that mean? Well, I'm actually trained and educated in helping you to overcome that imposter syndrome. So let's start with these four different ways that your network actually impacts your imposter syndrome. Number one, the story we play to ourselves. Like, imposter syndrome is a story that we play in our minds, and it's one that we've picked up over time. It's the stories that we've been told. So you may have been told, well, don't you think it's somebody else's turn? Did you hear that at school? Put your hand down. It's somebody else's turn now. It means that you're not, they don't want to always hear from you. And so what happens over time is that you learn just to not put your hand up, not to put yourself forward. So that's one of the ways. It's the story of, well, don't you think you're a little bit too big for your boots? Saying that you need to be a little bit smaller, play a little bit quieter, don't shine your light as much. So there's some of the stories that we can be told. One of the ones that I was told was, you haven't earned your spot here. That was when I joined the public sector as a graduate. Well, yeah, I had. I just did it at uni, the 5 years at uni versus the 5 years of experience that I needed apparently to earn that role, according to that person. So the stories are one of the ways. The microaggressions are another way. You know, as women, we're often told, be the good girl. Wouldn't it be nicer if you just smiled? It would make you more approachable. These things that show you to you, hey, look, you're not good enough as the person that you actually are. I've seen other ones that where you feel like you shouldn't belong. A really good one is in leadership or academia, where people who went through public schooling, like myself, don't feel like they necessarily belong because they know that they're an outsider when they find themselves amongst people who were privately schooled. Yeah, it's a thing. And it's, in fact, one of the things that is quoted in this book here, The Secret Thoughts of Successful Women, by Valerie Young. That's where I've taken that from. So, yes, it's a thing. It's a microaggression that we hear. Be a good girl, sit down, let somebody else talk, let somebody else have a turn. They're all ones that I've actually heard in my career in the public sector. Thankfully, not so much now that I'm working by myself. Being overlooked for a promotion, being overlooked for an opportunity, being overlooked to speak. There are so many biases that are in the workplace and in business that often one that we come up against is what's called an in-group bias. So what you will find is, like I was talking about, academia tends to be private school students, and we know that the private school tie exists. And so you tend to see people who look the same, act the same, talk the same. Um, it's this thing of representation matters. So if you don't see yourself represented in that group, you feel like an outlier, you feel like you don't belong, and you're not necessarily feeling welcome or that you actually belong there. And that's when your imposter syndrome kicks in. That's number one. It's the stories we play and all those little bits that sit behind it. It's the sum of the company that we keep. So you may have heard, you're the sum of the four or the five people that you spend the most time with. Look, it can be that, but it's really those people that you listen to, that you take on advice to, that you go to. They're the real people that influence you. It's also the people who invest the time in you and have it returned, or it's also the people that you invest the time into and have it returned. So it's where your worth is seen and valued and appreciated and reciprocated as well. So it's that feeling of belonging. We humans have this innate need to belong. So that's number two, the sum of the company we keep. Number three, it's the messaging that we see from our network. So often you'll find that negative input, so that if you constantly see negative messaging on social media, you will become very negative. And that was actually found as a piece of research that was done in 2012 by Meta, which was then Facebook, where what they did was they adjusted people's news feeds, and they either saw all positive or all negative posts. And what Facebook found was that those who saw all negative posts made mostly negative posts and comments themselves, whereas those who saw positive posts made positive posts and comments. It impacts your mindset. And I know that this actually happened because when I was looking at this research, which was published back in 2014 by Kramer, it actually reminded me that I was part of that research. And I did see the positive research, thankfully, the positive posts, which is great. But we also know that, if you're around somebody who's always negative, it brings down your mood. So that's one of the things. So that consider those kinds of people in your network. However, there is such a thing as toxic positivity. So the person who is always happy, but I've been thinking recently, Gary Vaynerchuk, who is seems to be positive, encouraging, but in a negative way, and he's constantly like that. So you've got to watch for, and if you know what I mean, please leave a comment and let me know, because, or if you've noticed that as well about his content, that it's always positive, it's always encouraging, it's always motivational. And we can't always be positive. We need the negative feelings to help us be positive, incidentally. So that's the other one. So look at the messaging that you receive from your network and maybe mute them, unfriend them, remove yourself from them. Just have a think about how much their behavior online is influencing how you feel and how you behave as well. So that's number three. Number four, do they support us, especially when we're not in the room? So do they really understand us and back us? That's what we want to know. Or are they what you would call fair weather friends? They're only around when times are good. Or perhaps they're only good friends for what they can get out of you. Those kinds of friends as well. They're in it for them. And what I want you to think of when you're thinking about your friends and your network and your colleagues, even your family, if you were to establish a board of advisors for your life, would you want them sitting on that board and advising you? Because if you wouldn't want them on your board, then I really think you should question whether or not you want them around and influencing your life right now. So that's number four. Do they support you, especially when you're not in the room? Five, I thought there were four. Bonus. So, five, do they want the best for us, or do they tell us what we want to hear? A positive influence in our network wants what's best for us, yes. But they are also prepared to tell us what we don't want to hear, those not so nice truths. So we need people around us who make us better. So that's another consideration to have. So what I want you to think of is, are these people, are they someone who is where you want to be, the type of person you'd like to be? Do they make you a better person for them being around? Because they're the kind of people that help you shift your story about yourself. Remember, right at the start, the first thing I said was that our imposter syndrome is based in the story that we tell ourselves. And so, if they're not helping us rewrite that story or shift that story in some kind of way, they're not really helping us to overcome that imposter syndrome. And one of the things that I know most about my clients and helping them get through imposter syndrome is knowing that they're not alone. And we all have a network of people around us who are there, who do want the best of us. And so I'm encouraging you to cultivate that network, cultivate those people who are doing the best for us, right? So a reminder of the 5 tips. One, remember that our network has influenced us already in developing the story of our imposter syndrome. Two, we are the sum of the company that we keep. So make sure that you've got those right people around you, and they're the ones that are not just there for the time that you invest in them, but they return it as well. Three, have a look at the people online that you associate with and whether or not they are constantly negative and how that's impacting how you feel and how you talk about yourself. Number 4, do they support us, especially when we're not in the room? And that was the one of, if you were to establish a board to help you manage and run your life, would they be a board member? And 5, do they want the best for us? And are they prepared to tell us the hard or difficult truths? So they're the things I want you to think about when you're looking at your network that you have around you. So I said about an exercise right at the start. What I want you to do now is to think about 3 people who inspire you. And what are those traits about them that inspire you the most? So, for me, one of them is Oprah Winfrey, and it's her courage, it's the fact that she's very forthright. That doesn't mean that she's rude or direct. It means that she will tell the truth. She is a woman holding her own, going and promoting herself through a very male-dominated industry, same as Brene Brown is another woman who inspires me. Is a woman who is quite academic, quite knowledgeable, and will go out there and promote her work to benefit others. So have a think of 3 people who really inspire you and what inspires you most. Pause this for a second and have a think about it. Back. You've written them down, those people, and what inspires you, the traits, right? Here's the secret. The secret is that those traits are the things that you don't acknowledge in yourself. You have those traits, but they rest just beneath the surface, and you don't like to see them in yourself, right? What you really need with those people that you have in your network, you want those people who see those traits, who are there for you and for those traits, who help you bring them out in yourself, and so that you can be that person who inspires. the person who inspires you. It's this thing that you really need when it comes to imposter syndrome. It's understanding a lot of the times that the skills and the traits are already within yourself, and you have that ability to be that person. So I hope this has helped. I hope you are able to cultivate that great network of people around you to support you moving forward. And if there is something that stands out for you, I'd love you to leave a comment. And if you would like some more support in overcoming imposter syndrome, please reach out to me through my messages, through my website, or through my social media.